Welcome everyone, Marcelo is my name. Very excited to bring to life the second episode in the Sospiro Discovery series. I love this brand. I fell in love with this brand probably about 2 years ago now. ERBA leather was my very first one. I'll tell you more about that shortly. It is a brand about luxury. It is opulent, voluminous fragrances that hang around. They stick to your skin, they push out, they create this beautiful sillage, wonderful projection. This morning, as I was preparing for today, I sprayed a few on my skin. I went then to the gym, get my mind ready. I went home, showered, got myself prepared. And as I was driving here, I thought to myself, I wonder if I can still smell the fragrances that I sprayed this morning. ERBA leather, ACCENTO viola, and on my skin, I sprayed PRIMA DONNA, and I smelled so good in the gym. I mean, I kept doing these yummy sounds as I was doing my thing. I'm sure someone looking at me going, this guy's crazy. He's loving his body. No, I was loving the scent. This beautiful, as I was sweating, this wonderful scent cloud of PRIMA DONNA was coming out. It was gorgeous. I can't wait to tell you more about these. Now, how can you enjoy this media? 2 ways. One, just keep watching it. Think of it as a normal review. I'll go across these fragrances. I'll try to paint the right picture so you can understand what these fragrances are about. Or 2, no imagination needed. By having your own discovery set, you can actually follow me in real time across the world as we smell these fragrances. How do you do that? Jump onto the Sospiro website where you can get your own discovery set of the 10 fragrances that we're speaking about. Use the code NFC and the team will instantly know which fragrances to select which will match what I'm talking about. Now, if you haven't received your discovery set, you want to bookmark this video. The way you do that is click here, save it here, and then when your discovery set arrives, boot back to this production by going here, click here, and boom, we're back together, and here we go. Now, I'm going to assume that you do have your discovery set in front of you, and I'd love you to organize your fragrances in a particular way. We're going to be following the Michael Edwards fragrance wheel. The first fragrance is MARASCHINO. Then it will be DOLCE MELODIA, followed by ACCENTO viola, then PRIMA DONNA, and finally ERBA leather. So let's begin. This bottle. If you're not familiar with the Sospiros, the bottle denotes a level of opulence, a level of luxury. It's exceptionally tactile, so it's all covered in this beautiful velvet. I am a very touchy-feely kind of guy. I'm very tactile. I like smelling, I like getting up close to things. And the moment that I first grabbed the bottle, I loved it for the feeling that it had and for its weight. So not only is the bottle nice and weighty, but also the lid itself has a beautiful weight to it too. As geeky as this sound, I love that the lid fits very snug on the bottle. You can actually grab it from the lid. Now I know that's not a prerequisite of wanting to buy a particular fragrance. However, it's all part of the package. Now what's this velvet touch about? There are 2 reasons. First, the company line. Things that I've read is that if you look at the plaque and also on the lid and also on the box, the butterfly is a symbol that's used throughout, and the company line is that the wings of the butterfly give you the perception that they have like a velvety touch to it. If you look at early commercials, and I'm going to say they were created back in 2011, 12, around there, you see this butterfly flapping its wings, gold dust coming off, represent the sillage, the fragrance in the air. I find that the butterfly, the wings, beep, bop, boop, it's a bit too marketing. Instead, what I like is velvet has always been deemed as a symbol of royalty, of nobility. Back in the days, medieval time, a velvet vestiture meant that you had money, baby. And so for me, the velvety touch instantly tells me this is luxury. Then you have this beautiful gold lid, which in my opinion looks like a crown. All of this for me symbolizes luxury, opulence. That is translated in the actual fragrances themselves. As I mentioned earlier, these are voluminous fragrances. You don't need a lot of sprays. For me, 3 is more than enough. Solar plex, stomach and hand, bada bing, you are now done for the day. And I'll tell you about the longevity that these fragrances have. Let me spray the first one. I'd love you to grab your card, and MARASCHINO is going to be the one that we launch our journey on. I So I stopped and paused because I love the opening note of this fragrance. And I love that it's a mixture of berries, this sort of fruit, but it's not overtly fruit, so it's nothing over the top. I love these berries, cherry-like quality to it, but instantly already the ambery florals, it's like woods are coming through. There's something deeper. It's not just a fruity young person kind of vibe to it. There's something a lot more happening in here. Now, I'm not a fan of cherry fragrances. I don't have a lot, actually. I think I've only got 2. I find that the cherry note tends to be overused in food products, in cough medicine, and it's exaggerated. It has a very confectionery-like quality to it. What drew me to this fragrance is that the name is Maraschino. Now, if you've missed my episode that I did on this particular fragrance here, Maraschino for me is more than just cherry. There's a beautiful dessert that I love having, which is a fior di latte gelato. And then you put the Luxador Maraschino cherries on top. Create a little well, put that in there. It is magical. As a dessert, pure magic on that alone. And I find that Maraschino replicates or is faithful to that beautiful dessert that I enjoy. I went to my favorite gelateria here in Melbourne. I asked if I could smell their Luxador Maraschino cherries, which are in this jar. I looked a little bit crazy, I accept it. What I wanted to see is what exactly is the scent profile to these cherries. And it's a mixture of that fruity cherry, but it's not overtly fruity. It's more ambery, and there are wood notes in there. There are some floral notes in it. It's very amberous. It's very rich. It looks like that syrup does. And I find that this fragrance is exactly that. It is a decadent, gourmand fragrance with a cherry touch to it. Now, I'd love you to think, masculine or feminine? So I'm always about fragrances are unisex. If you enjoy florals in your fragrance and you're a man, good for you. If you like really heavy leathers and woody, smoky fragrances and you're a woman, good for you. But here's the question. In smelling this card, a man or a woman, does it lean more feminine or does it lean more masculine? What are your thoughts? A lot of people, and good friends of mine, Kevin in particular, feels that this is a feminine leaning fragrance. I challenge that completely. I love wearing this. I love wearing this. As a man, it sits really well on my skin. And I don't know whether it's because we all have our own skin type, we have our own pheromones and the musks that are part of our body. And I feel that this fragrance on me works really well. It's a beautiful woody, amberous, floral fragrance with a cherry touch to it. I am going to ask you to put fragrances on your skin. So yes, smell on card to get a perspective or to get an idea as to what the fragrance is about. But I would like you to test on your own skin. Maraschino, if you're a man, I'd love you to test it out. See what it does for you. See how it plays out. It does open with a beautiful strawberry, cherry, almost apple note in there, but those other notes are already coming through. So it doesn't go, unlike normal fragrances where it starts here, migrates there, and goes on. For me, I feel like the whole fragrance emerges together with all these different pieces coming out at the same time. You are getting the fruity nature, but you're also getting those woody floral notes at the same time. As the fragrance dries down, it does retain those fruit elements, but it's not over the top. Cherry note is discernible, but not the hero of the actual fragrance. I love this as my winter fragrance. I love this as a going out fragrance. This is a beautiful date night, something that you want to make an alluring statement to someone else with. But it is also a fantastic summer fragrance. Not in high heat, a little bit too cloy, but on a beautiful, bright, summery day, Maraschino is divine. I've tested this and I've enjoyed it. The sillage that it projects is fantastic. I find that this fragrance here has at least a high to a moderate high when it comes to its sillage and projection, and I get 12 plus hours. The reality is 24. I wake up in the morning and this beautiful Maraschino cherry is all around me. I also have to confess, whenever I'm wearing Maraschino cherry, I do want to go to my favorite gelateria and get myself the fior di latte with the Maraschino. It's constantly in the air around me that I'm like, I just got to do it. So of an evening, off we go to enjoy a beautiful dessert. I'd recommend it to you. If you haven't tested that out yet, that's the best way to enjoy a gorgeous gelato. I'd love you to grab your next one, and I do want you to spray straight away. So this is Dolce Melodia. And I want you to think my earlier comment, which was my good friend Kevin says that Maraschino is way too fruity and it's too, can you smell that? Sorry, this one here that we just sprayed. Can you smell that in the air? Now tell me that is not fruit on overdrive. It's not a bright teenage girl kind of fruity. There is a fruity tone to it, but it's not, you know, like girly. But compared to Maraschino, I'd love you to compare. Now smell Maraschino. You're a little bit more on the dry down. Actually, you know what? We're gonna not even cheat. We're gonna reboot. I'd love you to spray I'd love you to spray Maraschino again, and let's compare side by side. So you are getting the strawberry, that apple note that's there, which then is that beautiful cherry tone to it. But already the ambery florals are coming through. All right, Dolce Melodia. Tell me those fruits are not just popping. I mentioned apple, but this has like a bright apple, like something you've literally picked off a tree. There's a vanilla touch to it. So inviting. It's such a beautiful scent profile to Dolce Melodia, and so different to Maraschino. The difference between the two is crazy. Maraschino is so much more denser than Dolce Melodia. So Dolce Melodia, what does this actually mean? You'll find that a lot of the Sospiros use musical terms, in particular operatic terms. Dolce Melodia, sweet melody. Now think of a song that you love, or think of any song. And the one part of the song that you remember the most is that melody. And it's the part that your brain is constantly singing or humming, and you're thinking, what is that song? Shake it off, something like that. The idea is just like a beautiful melody that does not leave you, that stays in your mind and plays again and again and again. You wake up in the morning thinking this musical piece. Dolce Melodia, the fragrance, is designed to get under your skin, to hit your olfactory senses, to make you remember whoever it is that you smelt this on. This is the most sensual, divine, intimate, alluring. You're just drawn. I mean, I always think of that in the cartoons, the person floating through the air as they're smelling the scent profile that is being emanated from this gorgeous fragrance. But what does it smell like? What are your thoughts? What are you detecting? I hope you haven't looked at notes yet. My mother used to make a beautiful apple cake. It was a traditional recipe from Argentina. It's a buttery vanilla cake, and on top she would put raw apple and then sprinkle sugar over it. The scent profile, I mean, when I smell this, it reminds me of this beautiful apple cake. I can taste the beautiful buttery vanilla sweetness of the cake, but in particular, it's the apple that's on top, this raw, and I used to love that the fact that the apple never cooked all the way through, so it still had a little bit of texture to it, but then that caramelized, sugary on top, it's still a little bit crunchy. On those opening notes, you're getting this beautiful, sweet mandarin. Not juicy though. It has a very citrus, a very sweet, alluring element to it. In the heart, there is pear and blackcurrant. And all these sweet, fruity notes, this mouth-watering temptation, come closer to me, is what the fragrance is saying. In the heart note, there are beautiful florals of jasmine and gardenia. These white florals create, again, a magical profile to the fragrance. Super alluring, very enticing. A beautiful white floral denotes such a beautiful feminine touch to a fragrance. So fragrances have the ability to start and then migrate and then move to, whereas Dolce Melodia, similar to Maraschino, feel that when it opens, it all comes out together and it's presented to you as one complete piece. On that opening, you are already getting the heart notes of the pear, the blackcurrant, those beautiful white florals, and a touch of that vanilla in the base. That mandarin note on the top is not necessarily citrus and bright. It's more juicy and more sweet and alluring as all of it comes out together. This scent profile stays throughout the fragrance. I don't feel that one note steps forward more than anything else. If anything, it's one complete composition that floats through the air. At different times, like right now, I'm getting a bit of that white floral, the gardenia with those pear notes, the sweetness of the vanilla. For me, very feminine leaning. And I know that I mentioned that fragrances are unisex, but this has become my wife's fragrance. And when I smell this, instantly, bump, I can picture Sandra. When Sandra is wearing this fragrance, I can comfortably detect this for over 6 hours. It's in the air, I can smell it around us. And I do feel that the projection on this is in the very confident, moderate to high. When she's wearing it, whether we're outdoors, whether we're going out somewhere, I can detect this fragrance very clean on her, very clear, very sweet, very enticing. A gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. Let me move on to the next one. This beautiful purple bottle here. It's very opulent looking. It definitely stands out in amongst the lineup here. This is Accento Viola, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about, because you'll be thinking to yourself, Accento, I've heard that before, so I'll come back to that. I'd love you to spray. What are you detecting on that opening? Now, this fragrance falls into the woods category. I always love challenging some of these classifications. Because on that opening, for me, it's a floral amber. It has this powdery floral nature to it. There is an ambery touch. It does seem to be a little bit heavier and light and airy. But woods, there's too many flowers going on. There's a slight fruity touch in there that I can't quite distinguish. Well, I can't distinguish it on card. So I would love you. Spray it on skin. Could you do that for me, please? Now, I'm hoping that you did spray on skin, because the difference between on skin and on card is worlds apart. On skin, I get this wonderful, juicy fruit touch to the fragrance. It then does migrate to a tropical citrus green. You're getting a slight citrus touch to it. And then finally, it dries down to a fruity floral fragrance. The evolution is beautifully clear. It moves and it dances as it moves through the actual fragrance. I go back to my question. Do you feel that this is a woods fragrance? For me, I'm still in that floral amber, although some of these fruits are now sort of coming through. That juicy fruit, as I mentioned, is something that I feel probably about 15 to 20 minutes in. The key note here is a pineapple, and that pineapple note dances between being juicy and sweet and yellow is the color, to then a more greener pineapple, a bit more vibrant, a little bit more on the aromatic side, less on the juicy side. The other key note in the fragrance is hyacinth. It's found in the opening, but I feel that the magic of this note weaves all the way through the fragrance. This wet green scent profile to it, powderiness, and this white floral touch. Now, hyacinth is purple in color, hence why this beautiful bottle is purple. You can extract it from nature, but it is crazy, super expensive. And in a lot of cases, perfumers actually construct an accord, a hyacinth accord. And now the perfumer has the ability to tweak this, move that, all within the scope of what a hyacinth would smell like. In nature, it is quite heady. It's almost over the top in its scent profile. And I feel that in here, the fragrance retains that headiness, that white floral, that opulence, that slightly woozy feel to the fragrance. But that pineapple note now makes it balance between the juicy and then the green. I'm hoping you did test this on skin. Now, if you're a man, what are your thoughts? Do you feel like it's a little bit maybe more feminine leading? The white, it's not a white floral necessarily, but it does have pieces of a white floral. It does have that powderiness of an iris also. I know that in the base there are things like iris and sandalwood, there's amber and vanilla. It does work so elegantly on a man. On a woman, no problems at all. The floral nature to the fragrance can lend itself so wonderful on a female skin, but on a man's skin, now with our extra pheromones, those extra musks in there, it does make it a bit more, it makes it super appealing. It makes it a very suave fragrance for a man to wear. I've always said this, beautiful floral fragrance on a man works so well. A nice suit, well dressed, and then a fragrance that is not overtly over the top floral. A few woody elements, a few other elements in there to complement that beautiful floral note. It just works perfectly. I know that when I'm wearing this fragrance, Sandra, my wife, is forever commenting on how great I smell, how my sillage and the fragrance that's in the air is so perfect and divine. This is one that catches her attention very quickly. You have to remember, I have a number of fragrances that I enjoy, yet whenever I'm wearing Accento Viola, I get Sandra's attention. And I think it's that beautiful combination of the florals, that ambery woody touch, and then that fruit note, that pineapple note that plays all the way through the fragrance. The performance on this fragrance is exceptional. Moderate to high is where it sits when it comes to its sillage and also its projection. I'll say that you're gonna get 12 hours, but in reality, you'll get 24. You'll spray it in the day, you'll be using it, you'll be sweating, whatever it may be. The next morning, Accento Viola is still present and on your skin. A gorgeous fragrance for a man, an incredible fragrance for a woman to wear. So here's a question that seems to be asked quite regularly. What's up with Accento Viola and Xerjoff's Accento? There's also Erba Pura from Xerjoff, but there's also Erba Pura Magica from Sospiro. So I've done some research. Now, back in 2011, Xerjoff, Sergio Momo, released the Sospiro brand, which is not an unusual move. Currently, Xerjoff has Chemi as one of the brands also within their portfolio, plus Casa Morati. Sospiro used to be one of those. The perfumer to the fragrance is Christian Carbonell or Chris Maurice. He created Chapter 1 and Accento was part of that. The Sospiro range was designed to celebrate Italian opera, hence why those names were very operatic in their terms. Now, Sergio made the following comment, and this is his exact words. It was creating a perfume collection that was able to talk the same olfactive language with different markets, particularly Middle Eastern market. The Sospiros were designed to face towards the Middle Eastern market. And what is that exactly? Well, they're about opulence and about luxury and about big projecting, potent, voluminous fragrances, which is everything that the Sospiro range covers. In 2015, Chapter 2 was released, and in that Chapter 2 section, Erba Pura came out. Massive big hitter when it comes to this incredible basket of Mediterranean fruits and tropical touches to it, but with a very heavy white musk in the base. Everything was turned to 11 or even 15 in particular with the musk. Then the brand disappeared. We didn't know what happened to it. In 2022, boom, it re-emerged in full force with Christian Provenzano being the head perfumer for all the fragrances. He actually, even though Chris Maurice, Christian Carbonell created Accento originally, Erba Pura, Christian Provenzano did his own little tweaks to this and has put his name against it. So they must have had, this is the part that I'm like, what's going on here? They must have had the original recipes and also the ability to keep the name, but now give it a bit of a twist. Today, Sospiro is its own company. Sospiro International is the name, and I don't believe that it is connected to Xerjoff other than some of the formulas for those fragrances that are currently in the Vibe collection. All right, two left. We're now on the other side of the wheel. These are now dry woods, but ladies, fear not. First one, Prima Donna. I'd love you to spray. What is Prima Donna? I'm going to spray on skin. Spray on card if you choose to. But for me, this baby, I want on skin. Because, boys, I want to tell you about this fragrance. Ladies, please. This is gorgeous, but it's different. Now, Prima Donna is, in opera, the leading lady. That's the voice that you'll hear throughout pretty much the whole show. Watch Phantom of the Opera or listen to Phantom of the Opera and listen to the track called Prima Donna. I always put it down to opera is yelling, but in a beautiful way, in a very melodic, appeasing way. Listen to that particular track and listen to the woman's voice. She is like letting everybody know that she is there. It's interesting too that sometimes a prima donna can be deemed as a diva. And I think it's mainly because it's a look at me. The voice of the prima donna in an opera is a very much look at me. I'm in command. This is my scene and I want you to listen to what I have to say. So you would think that this would be a boss woman's fragrance. However, it's still a boss woman fragrance that a man can comfortably wear too. I'm hoping you did spray on skin. Sprayed on card is nice, but on skin, you're gonna see some differences because I also want you to make some comparisons. What are you getting on that opening? Other than, I love you, you're gorgeous, and it's divine. It does have this beautiful fruity touch. In particular, one note. What is it? I'd love you to smell maraschino. Such a gorgeous cherry in syrup, ambery, floral, woody. Okay, quickly smell your prima donna. It's a cherry leather. Dry cherry wrapped around this supple leather. I find that this fragrance has gorgeous evolution. It starts off with this beautiful cherry leather. It then migrates to a dry, supple leather note. Finally, it dries down to this rich, opulent, ambery fragrance. It does retain some of that leathery touch that is in the heart of the actual fragrance, but there's more than that. There's other notes that begin to float. I mentioned I was at the gym. Actually, I had it on my body. And as I was sweating and heating up, this mixture between the fruit notes, this sweet cherry fruitiness was coming through, but then mixed in with this white floral jasmine-like, but then there was this beautiful ambery, leathery touch. This fragrance is gorgeous. Gentlemen, don't be put off by the name. Be a prima donna, be a diva, and wear this fragrance with confidence. This is one, if you love a subtle leather fragrance, this is just pure magic to wear. The comedy in my family with this particular fragrance is I did buy it for Sandra. I bought it for my wife. Prima donna, I just thought, yeah, it's you know, the first woman, the first lady, the leading lady. Not realizing that the leather note, it's a little bit distracting to Sandra. The animalic component of that leather note is not something that she enjoys. And maybe there's a sensitivity to the leather note in here with some women, because some of the comments I have read is that the leather note is quite pronounced. For me, I do enjoy leather fragrances, but not overtly over-the-top leather. There's a beautiful fragrance by Matière Premier called Falcon Leather. I don't own it. I love all things Matière Premier. I want to love Falcon Leather, but it's too much. It's too intense. It's literally like I've put my hand in a glove and sweated for 3 days, and then boom, it's just like, whoa. Whereas the leather here, the leather note here, is supple, is tender, is gentle. The fruit notes that are in the fragrance just seem to surround it and caress it and tone it down so it doesn't become overtly animalic. In the base, there are things like chocolate, resin, amber, cedarwood, and so for me, when it dries down, it moves away from that overtly leather profile, and it goes into these other more amberous, more luxurious notes that sit on skin just perfectly. 12 plus hours to be modest, but in fact, 24 without a problem. I was wearing it recently. I could smell it all through the night. It was infiltrating my dreams. I was dreaming that I was buying perfume, that I was smelling perfume. I would wake up and I'm like, what in the world, what is it? And I'm like, oh, prima donna. And it was on my actual body that as I moved, the fragrance would emerge and come out. I woke up that morning smelling prima donna clearly and cleanly. This is a fragrance that will stay with you. Its projection and sillage is in the high to moderate highs. It will constantly be around you. It has incredible presence. Let me move to something now that will command a bit more presence. Also in the dry woods, and it's the last one in our collection. This is the first one that I tested when the brand rebooted. Kevin, my good friend from Oillataguerre, when this came into his store, he said, bro, you need to come in, you need to check out ERBA leather. And I'm like, did Xerjoff release a new one? And he goes, no, SOSPIRO has rebooted. I had no idea what that actually meant. Again, another one. I'd love you to spray on skin, please. Spray on card, by all means. If leather is not your thing, I get it. But I'd love you to compare between ERBA leather and prima donna and see the difference between the two. On that opening, I'm already getting those leathery tones because I find that on card, the opening notes stay a lot longer, whereas on my skin, the opening is a beautiful balance between those opening notes, the fruits that's there, and then that leather as it moves through. What are you detecting? I'd love you to compare the two and just talk to the screen. What are you comparing? What are you picking up on between the two? I'm more in the dry down here. That leather has really come off. That dryness has really come off. Whereas here, I'm getting early notes of tropical. I'm getting this beautiful pineapple, or is it mango? It's a beautiful passion fruit. It has this gorgeous passion fruit note. I had the wrong inception in my brain. I know that ERBA pura has, as it's defined, a basket of Mediterranean fruits, meaning that sometimes I smell like a strawberry note or a raspberry note or a plum note. Sometimes I'm even picking up like a more tropical, like a juicy mango or something of that nature. Whereas here, when I first sprayed, I just felt this beautiful, vibrant, tropical touch to the fragrance. But it's a passion fruit. It's a wonderful tart passion fruit note that's on that opening with just a level of dryness from the leather that's in the background. It hasn't emerged yet. The leather hasn't emerged yet. Unlike Prima Donna, the leather note, it comes in, it comes out, it has a lot more movement. It does dry down in a much more amberous place, whereas I find that ERBA leather is a beautiful leather fragrance all the way through. It opens up with a beautiful dry, tropical, leathery note to it. It then moves to a leathery fruit. You're getting now more of the fruit pieces, but the leather is coming around. And then finally, it settles at a beautiful, luxurious leather place. Never animalic, never over the top, but it is a beast mode fragrance. I find that its sillage and projection are in the high to super high. You have a lot of presence when it comes to this particular fragrance in the air. And when it comes to its longevity, 20 plus hours, very comfortably. This fragrance here, I know I'll wake up in the morning. As I mentioned, I tested this morning, I went to the gym, I showered, and ERBA leather, it was still very present on my skin. I'm still in that beautiful passion fruit, fruity leather piece to the actual fragrance. ERBA leather is my suiting up fragrance. It's one that if I'm doing something a lot more formal, I love wearing this. This is really one that I could be wearing layers of clothing, a vest, a jacket, well, my shirt, a vest, a jacket, and yet the fragrance still has the ability to push through and come out and project itself. A gorgeous, gentleman, refined scent profile that it has to it. Ladies, if you are new to leather, you want to now explore this a little bit deeper, then ERBA leather is gorgeous. Those fruity tones remain within the fragrance and never, as I mentioned, go into a very deep, dark, wearing a dead animal leather kind of fragrance at all. Boom, there you have it. 5 gorgeous fragrances, just divine. I'd love you to do this before we finish. I'd love you to smell, go back to your maraschino. It's not, and this is what I wanted to make it clear, it's not a cherry fragrance. It's not, some people want to put into a category that it's a cherry leading fragrance. Cherry is in the construct, but it's so much more than a cherry fragrance. It's this beautiful ambery, woody, floral, just a gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance for anybody to wear, man or woman. Now, Dolce Melodia, it's retained that cake-like quality. The fruitiness is still there. The white florals are still playing in there. Ladies, as a beautiful fragrance to create magic in the air, to create a sense of a scent lure, Dolce Melodia, please. ACCENTO Viola. It's almost sour. On card, it's a sour note. On skin, I'm getting that green pineapple. It's going into that woody. So that first very floral, very fruitiness that had on that opening, it's gone to a different place altogether. Again, tested on skin. On card is one thing, but on skin, it's divine. And then the last 2 masterpieces, Prima Donna. Boys, just wear it. It's just a gorgeous fragrance. Ladies, again, eventually my wife will get around to wearing this because I find that this is a gorgeous fragrance. The scent profile that it has in the air is just divine. But it does have that leathery touch to it. There is a slight leathery suede in there, but there's so much more going on. And finally, the glorious ERBA leather, which I'm still in that divine fruit leather place. It does dry down further to this. It does go to that luxurious leather fragrance, which has the suppleness of the actual leather note. Such fun fragrances to have. Hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to reading your comments. As I mentioned, if you'd like to take part in the discovery in this and experience this alongside me, jump on the Sospiro website, use the code NFC for a 50% discount off this discovery set. And that way you can experience this alongside me in real time. Thanks everyone. We'll see you guys all on the next episode.